Welcome everyone to episode 13 of Digital for Everyone, where we discuss topics about digital done right and how that benefits business. Tonight, we're going to be talking to Kern Elliott about chatbots. I think some of you may have used chatbots before. If you haven't, it's a pretty popular thing that's gaining popularity now, especially on websites. Welcome Kendall Jag, welcome Tanty Thoughts, I like that name. PJ Love, welcome back. Tonight's topic is about chatbots. I'm sure you guys have run into them. Sometimes you'll see them as a little icon on the bottom of a site that you visit. If you're local from Trinidad, you may see it on Digicel's website. They actually help you get to where you need to be. Ryan, welcome back, man. Ryan has seen every single Digital for Everyone. Pretty soon we're going to have him on as an honorary member. JQ Williams, welcome. And Skilex has joined us. Skilex is actually Kern's profile, so we're going to add him in there in a second. Siddiqa, did I say that right? Let's see if we can grab Kern and bring him in. So how's everybody doing? Are you guys ready for a second round of lockdown? I hope we don't actually get into one, but we'll see. Okay.
Excellent. So is anybody, before we start, is anybody actually...
I don't know why, but sometimes technical people just have to get all the technical issues just before we come in, of course.
It is all penance for knowing to turn things on and turn them back off again.
Yeah.
Good night, Kern. Welcome to Digital for Everyone, the place where we talk about different topics to show people that how digital can benefit businesses when it's done right. Guys, to introduce Kern, our speaker today, he's got over 15 years of IT experience in operations and application management. He's got a computing science degree from the University of Greenwich and received his master's in information systems management from the University of Liverpool. Not necessarily related to the Liverpool team that just won their first trophy in like 4 million years, apparently. Kern has also acquired a range of technical skills, including proficiency in various programming languages, CMS software, and database software. He's the former developer of Chune, and that's where I met Kern. Is it 5 years ago now, since Jamaica? 4 or 5 years.
Could be
easily.
about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Somewhere around
so we were pitching. We were both pitching in a Caribbean-wide app pitching competition. I don't know if either of us walked away with a prize. I think we got into the second round, but I'm not sure how Chune did. But anyway, that's how I know Kern. And Kern ever since then, Kern had been speaking about chatbots, and it's something that we've seen explode in popularity since then. Kern, I'm getting a little spinning circle. I hope you're still with us. Welcome, Kellyanna. So while Kern's connection sorts out, chatbots, Kern is going to tell us a lot more about them. Apparently, he's been using them to good success. Kern, are you still with us there? Oh no, he's disconnected. He'll be back shortly, guys. But while he's reconnecting, does anyone have any questions about chatbots before we can start that maybe I can answer? I know that they are essentially very complex if-then statements, but I'm sure Kern will give us a better description than that. Let's see if we can get him back in here. Kern, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, but I'm not seeing myself.
No problem. I think we had that problem earlier today when we were testing it out. It will settle down in a second.
All right, no problem.
So while it's settling down, can anyone else hear him? Just so that we know that you guys are hearing him. Anyone in the chat, just give me a heads up, a thumbs up, double tap on the hearts. Let me know that you're hearing him. Okay, great. Kern, while your video is loading, I know that that's because of the other network. we will go into, so let's kick it off. What is a chatbot? Define that for us so that we can tell the difference between chatbots and maybe something else that's automated.
I mean, basically, a chatbot is an application that replicates conversation. I think the biggest difference between a chatbot and a live chat is that instead of you're chatting with an individual, you're actually chatting with a machine which has been taught how to answer specific questions. What a lot of people get, say this in a training, what a lot of people get chained up with is that what you have on your phone with Siri and Google now is not a chatbot. That is a whole behind a whole smart speaker, a whole smart system that behind a whole huge neural network, which of course is not what your chatbot will be at the start, especially when you're now starting.
Okay. All right. I mean, that was actually a good analogy, because the next question I would have asked was is Siri, is Google Home a chatbot? So thanks for clearing that up. So let me see. There was a question here. JQ Williams is saying, when are chatbots appropriate and when are they not? I think that's a great question, because I've seen them in a lot of websites. I know that Facebook has a version of it and WhatsApp does as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
Just repeat that question one more time there, please. Now hearing you very
sure. JQ said, when are chatbots appropriate and when are they not?
Well, that's a very difficult question. I think chatbots are more appropriate when you understand what are the possibilities that a customer can ask you. So when you are sure that you can automate a certain flow or a certain process within your business, especially when it comes to conversation type automation, that is when I think that's when you hit the sweet spot when it comes to a chatbot. So not every single aspect of your business you can use for a chatbot for, but you can find that niche, especially when it comes to speed. A chatbot is really something to implement automation and speed, so a client can get the information that they need when they need it, so on demand. So that is the sweet spot for where a chatbot can actually work, in my opinion.
So a chatbot would be something that answers a predetermined set of questions then. Things that you get very often and you're like, okay, I don't want to keep telling people, I don't want to have to keep typing out maybe the address to my business or what our opening hours are. Even though those things are on Facebook, sometimes people will message you and ask you, are you open today? That kind of stuff. Is that, kind of in the realm of what we're talking about there?
Yeah, I mean, that's at some of the simplest levels, right? I mean, address and stuff like that, but then we can get to prices, we can get to recommended items from purchasing from your store. You could get, I've actually seen other persons within the industry, for example, Lego had a bot that you can go through a certain set of steps and they can recommend a box of Lego for your whatever age person looking for that Lego set is. So there are really many different realms, from basic to what you just mentioned, simple information that it's repeating, to something more advanced where you can actually go through a set of steps and help someone along in terms of making a decision on what is the best product to buy for an individual.
And that is really, it takes a lot of the effort out of the repetitive stuff for, like, let's say a salesperson who's selling a vehicle, or as you said, trying to find what's the right vehicle for me or something like that. Yeah,
it takes out, as I say, chatbots is really about automation. So it takes out the more monotonous parts of marketing and sales, right, and even customer support, right, and that's a new way to interact. Because when you have a proper functioning bot that can even answer strange questions that I have seen come already, like what's the purpose of life or how old are you and stuff like that, it's a whole different type of interaction that a machine will be able to answer something witty or funny when it comes to these questions. So it gives you a different way of representing your brand. So if you have a brand that's more aligned to the fun, funny, kicksy type of way, you can actually have your chatbot represent your brand in that way, whilst taking away from the monotonous part of the job that you want to keep on not doing over and over and over and over.
So I think that answers my next question, which was going to be, what problems does a chatbot solve? And so far, it seems like, the monotony and the repetitive nature of, as I said, marketing and just information gathering, it helps speed that up so you have time to do other stuff. We had a question from Siddiqa. It's asking, what happens when an unanticipated question is asked to a chatbot? Does it not respond, or will the response accidentally be arbitrary and irrelevant? I think that comes down to programming.
Exactly, it comes down to programming. Right. There are bots that will tell you when you get a question that it can't answer, that I'm unable to answer that question. Then there are bots that if your question is close to something else, it will give you the answer of that something else, which may be irrelevant. So the best way that we try to handle it, or based on my experience, is that when we can't answer a question, you get the opportunity to ask again in a different way. If at the same time you don't get an answer at that point, what we tend to do is then either create a ticket so that an actual human being can answer that question, or we set up a live chat with a human being who quickly be able to understand that question and answer. The great thing about a chatbot is that now you could take that information in terms of the question and the answer and help train the bot to be able to answer that question eventually.
Okay, so it's definitely a growing, I don't want to say living, but it'll grow in sophistication as you learn and as you add more functionality to it, yeah?
Yeah, that's correct. So it uses a technique that we call machine learning. It's basically the way that machines learn, just like how human beings learn, in terms of you give it a different set of characteristics and say, hey, this character is a 1. It has a value of 1, for example. And as you train it more, it gets more and more sophisticated to be able to extract from a large amount of text the actual real question or the real value that you have within a question to be able to answer it. So over the time, the more that you test a bot, is the better it gets in answering different questions. Of course, that's if you allow it to learn. If you don't add in those learnings to it, it won't get any better. It was just see how it is.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Now, I mean, we've talked about development and stuff like that. One of the big questions I think most people will have is, what type of investment is needed, to have a well-functioning chatbot? Can my doubles man, and I don't want to say that because doubles men make quite a lot of money, but can a small business owner have a chatbot, or is it something that you would really reserve for medium-sized businesses and things like that?
I think anyone can have a chatbot, from a business that is a sole trader straight up to the largest enterprises. The thing with any technology, you need to put the time behind it to make it become valuable or worthwhile. And the great thing about chatbots compared to like a mobile app is that the level of entry, or there's an ease to enter into actually building a chatbot. Of course, you won't have all the experience of those who are big copywriters and stuff in creating bots, but you can go from a simple level of what we call a decision tree box, where if you choose one of A and B, if you choose A, then you go down a different path. If you choose B, you go down a different path, and you could create that. And you don't even need extensive training to be able to create a bot like that. Many of the platforms that I have out right now can actually answer those questions, help you build those type of bots with very minimum input and amount of tutorials you have to actually do.
Interesting. Okay, I'm just going to pause for a second to actually let you try and reconnect, because we've had no video for a while. Guys, I'm not actually talking to a dark void. I'm talking to Kern Elliott, and he's telling us about chatbots. So, Kern, if you want to just try and reconnect, maybe, I know you said you had a different Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I will just recap the points that we've covered so far.
No problem.
So, guys, we're talking about chatbots. What is a chatbot? It is essentially a smart program that answers questions has sort of predetermined answers to questions that you outline. As Kern was just saying, it can be as simple as a decision tree where, someone will message you and it comes and says, okay, well, do you need information on these 4 things? And when you respond A, B, C, or D, it gives you an answer based on, the thing that A asked for, the thing that B asked for. So let's see if we can get Kern back with us live. Chatbots can be used in almost any situation, but the goal of them really is to automate marketing, the repetitive stuff with marketing stuff. Welcome, and we see Kern, and we're live now, and we have audio as well, so we're working amazingly together. And in terms of investment, just to recap, they are actually fairly easy to get started with. You don't need a lot of technical expertise to start it off. You may want to employ someone to set it up for you if you're really not technically inclined. But I myself, I think I've used something called Intercom, which was fairly straightforward in setting up some automated conversations. But as you said, the scale is sort of endless. You can start very small, but you can go as high as you want. So an interesting question is, do you think chatbots are taking jobs away from people? There's that secretary who answers the phone who would give you the answers to most of the stuff that a chatbot would do. So do you think, what's your take there?
I'll give you the most unanswered answer I can give you, right?
Oh, no.
I would say the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Here's why I'm saying yes or no. While it may take the secretary's job in terms of answering questions, the secretary job may now actually change to being someone who actually monitors that bot or become the callback for that bot when they can't understand to be able to answer. So is it taking away the secretary job? Yes, but it's transforming into a different type of job. So it's really for persons to skills up or be able to find their niche to be able to operate side by side with a chatbot.
Right.
So I don't think there's a big need to worry for job-wise, but I think that there's a need to understand and basically find your skill set to where you can actually fit into that whole customer support side of things.
Okay, JQ is saying that definitely not. People don't like doing the repetitive. And I agree. I think the repetitive stuff is where you get bored. And when you get bored, you start making mistakes. Now, I mean, my personal stance on technology in terms of taking jobs is that if your job is so repetitive that a robot can do it, it should be done by a robot. The problem is that not everybody skills up as quickly, and therefore some people are like, well, I've been a secretary all my life. Now I have a chatbot that takes over it. I don't know what to do. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation for another time. So I've heard talks about they're built on AI, machine learning. Elon Musk keeps talking about neural net. These are very sort of daunting and scary things. What does it all, I guess, what does it all mean in terms of I'm a small business owner. I'm busy, right? Let's say I'm a plumber and I'm busy, but people keep messaging my Facebook page and my website or message me on WhatsApp, and I can't answer them all the time because I'm busy working, but I don't want to lose the customers.
Right.
Talk about it from that perspective. What would you say, and how would it work for that kind of business?
So for the plumber, I would assume that the plumber can eventually be able to say what are the trends in terms of the questions being asked, right?
Okay.
So I would look at that first to see what questions you would like to automate as much as possible. Those that you can't automate, I would say let them eventually let the bot take the information and send it to you like in an email or whatever the case may be, whatever way that you can answer at your own pace. Right. But I would take the trend and actual questions that are being asked and then build a simple decision tree bot on that. When I say decision tree again, it's what would you like to find out about my plumbing business? And I'll have a set of options like contact number, what type of jobs that I do, maybe pictures of the jobs, posts of jobs, something like that. So that when you click on or you press on one with your fingertips or you click on it,
Right.
you'll actually get a response saying, "Hey, my contact number is 868-123-456," and you can actually now press that and make that automatic call. So you know that person wants to contact you urgently.
Right.
If it's
right.
like
In other words, a pipe was bursted and water spraying everywhere. Gotcha.
Yeah. But once it looks for them, right?
Right.
For the other one, on you press on, you could get an average price of jobs. So if it's like to do plumbing for like sinks, you can have like a general cost or starting point, so that people can get an idea of, if I want this job, it can actually cost around X amount of dollars.
Okay.
Right?
So in the basic level, it's kind of like the websites all over have FAQ pages, right? Frequently asked questions. And it's a way to sort of like, I guess people are lazy and they don't go read through the FAQs. But if I said, well, how much do you charge for, what's your emergency fee or something like that to come out like right now, you can have a automated answer for that. So, okay, I can see that. I mean, I like where we're going with this in terms of developing it, because you're right. People would think that a chatbot is for, as Digicel, as Massy, that's big business stuff, but it can be pretty entry level. In terms of, are there any, let's say people listening right now would want to, they want to test it out, they want to mess around with it. Where would you point them? Are there platforms or sites or something? Where would you say, if you want to get started and you really have no experience, where would you send them to go to learn about?
I will send them to chatfuel.com or manychat.com. Those are two of the more popular bot building platforms. They are more Facebook based. Facebook based, so like Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
Right.
So they'll be more based on that, but they're very heavily used, and their communities that they have on Facebook can help you learn everything from the basic tutorial up to even the most advanced. So that is actually where I got started. I started with Chatfuel and eventually evolved into the more advanced stuff like Dialogflow and Raza and all these other more difficult learning stuff. But
I'm going to pretend I know what those words are. Okay, great. So in terms of platforms where we can use a chatbot, I know you said Facebook, and I think I've interacted with minimal ones that say, I want to find out more business about this and things like that. But I did mention WhatsApp, but I don't actually know if there's a WhatsApp, if you can do a WhatsApp chatbot. Is that something that's possible?
Yeah, actually, where I work right now at iGovTT, we're actually looking to implement a WhatsApp bot in the very near future. We're actually testing it out right now.
Right.
What I would say is that Facebook Messenger is the most mature place to have bots. They have all the technology behind it to do the most advanced stuff. WhatsApp and Instagram are coming, but a bit slower, so they are not as mature. They can't do a lot of the fancy stuff like show quick links or even give you cards that have different buttons on them. So you can do those bots, but they are a lot more simplistic in that way compared to the Facebook Messenger bot that can be a bit more advanced and a lot more shiny things that can be thrown at the user. Okay.
In terms of, so does Facebook provide you with those tools, or is something you have to install from ManyChat and things like that you had raised earlier?
What Facebook will do is give you more the developer side of things. But if you go to Chatbot and ManyChat, they will simplify it down to a click of a button. Assign into Facebook. What page would you like to have your bot on? Click a button, and you will have a bot on your page. And then they will have templates of bots that you can use. So let's say make an appointment. You will have an appointment bot. And you have a template into how appointments will be, and you see how it works actually on your Facebook Messenger. So yeah, so Chatfuel and ManyChat is really the places to me to really start if you want to get into chatbots. those are the best places to start and then eventually evolve.
Okay. I think Craig asked the question that we just answered. Craig, just let us know that we answered your question. For sure, he was asking that to get a messenger chatbot, does he need to use something like Chatfuel, or does Facebook have its own? So yeah, I think we answered that. In terms of, I know that you've been in IT for a while, so this stuff comes fairly easy to you. But how would you say, how much experience would you need to have to go on to Chatfuel and be able to start, just get something to say, or like book an appointment, something very basic, like I'm a plumber and I have appointments available these times. Let people book appointments with me so that when I get home at work, I can see what I have to do tomorrow. How much experience would you need to be able to do this on your own?
For IT experience, I don't think you need substantial IT experience. I think most people within this live right now can actually go there right now and create that bot.
Interesting.
How simple that those platforms make it for you to make such bots. Right? Of course, it can get more advanced, but for something that's simple, you can more than go there and get a tutorial on YouTube and create that bot in like an hour, if so much. Yeah, sign up will take more time than the actual building of that particular bot.
All right, cool. Well, I think I'm actually going to try myself and set up a chatbot for Instagram. If anyone wants to test it out, I will put it up on our stories for you guys to kick the tires and see how that goes. Can't promise that it'll happen immediately, but we'll definitely try that out. Is there anything else that we need to know? So we covered what a chatbot is. You know, we now know that anyone from any industry, really, from small proprietors all the way up to big business, can implement chatbots and probably should, to get rid of some of the monotony of the marketing effort. You know, people message you, that inbox for price. If we could make inbox for price a chatbot, people would never have to respond to Facebook messages again.
Right.
Sure. It is not taking away jobs, but it is, it is changing the way people will do the repetitive stuff in the business. And when you get really sophisticated, your chatbot can actually learn and improvise even at a certain level. It can improvise and estimate a question if it isn't answered or asked correctly. Is that as far as it can go?
Yeah, it can go as far as the improvise. With enough learning behind it, eventually it starts to understand questions that look similar to what it already knows. So it doesn't have to be the exact same question. Eventually it can pull parts or subjects and stuff out of that particular question to be able to answer it still. Okay.
And is that something that is custom built, or is that something that you can actually get from Chatfuel or ManyChat?
Chatfuel and ManyChat has like a basic thing to that. When you start to get more advanced into there, that is where you now go into what I was mentioning before, the dialogue flows and the erasers, where you actually now train a bot where you break down a sentence into what is the subjects, what these particular words mean, what are alternative to these words. So for example, we did when I say we, I mean iGovTT, we did a bot for Ministry of Health for answering questions on COVID-19.
Tell us about that.
COVID-19 can come in many different ways. People say the Rona, people say novel coronavirus, some would say,
SARS-CoV-2, all kinds of stuff.
All these things. So you can actually now train the bot to understand that when you say the Rona, you actually meant COVID-19. Right? So you can get to that eventually, to that level. And eventually you can even go into what we call context, where I can ask a question and based on the context, you can get a different answer compared to asking it outside of that context. So it gets really advanced, as I say, but we don't get there one time. You need to go through the steps first to understand, because eventually what you end up learning is conversations and eventually understand how your brain actually thinks about conversations and realizing that there's a lot that goes into our interactions that seem simple, but if you try to put it down on paper, it actually gets really complex.
It does indeed. So in your estimation, we have, Shaolin Skunk was asking, will Chatfuel provide reports on your chat interactions?
Yes, it would. Very basic reports though. You can get reports like the amount of clicks on something like that. If you want to get more data, there are different features that they have implemented there that you can drag and drop into your conversation to capture additional information. So if you want to, Facebook gives out certain information within their Facebook Messenger.
Right.
So like your maybe like your Facebook ID, you can request getting your name. So those things you can actually capture at one point, and you can add it to your report to get a more comprehensive report that can actually help you learn a bit more about your customer.
Okay. Charlotte Skunk, I hope that answers the question. That does bring us sort of to the end of our time. If there's any other questions, please, shoot them in the comments now. Kern, I want to thank you for this. This is very enlightening. I hope everyone here takes a stab at it. Try and set up a chatbot for yourself, just to see if you can. Sometimes there's just knowing that you can do something allows you to expand into something else. And for everybody else that has just joined or anything like that, chatbots, as we've heard from Kern today, and you can look at the replay as I posted right afterwards. Chatbots are for anybody. They're fairly easy to get started with. If you are like any one of us who works in an industry that you have to answer repetitive questions or do repetitive tasks, chatbots may be a solution for some of your woes. And they're very easy. They're fairly easy to set up. Kern had mentioned manychat.com and Chatfuel, where you can get a lot of sort of turnkey solutions, sort of download and install fairly straightforward stuff.
Yeah, they basically take away the programming and creates a point and click system where you can actually build your own bot.
Okay, and as he said, you don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to have 15 years of experience like Kern to set up something simple to say, I need an appointment tomorrow. Manage your appointments or basic appointment requests. JQ is asking, do chatbots store any info about the customer?
Not at startup, so it's not like it automatically does. Sometimes the platform that you use automatically pulls information. So for example, the one that we use within iGov TT, we can actually see, give an idea of where you're located based on your IP address. You can ask questions from up front in terms of what's your name, what service are you trying to find out more information about.
Right.
And that you can then capture and put it into a particular database to be able to, go through and find what trends that you could find out.
Right.
There.
Right. So data capture depends on what you want to learn. So the more data you ask for, okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, a big digital for everyone. Thank you to you, Kern, for talking with us about chatbots. Thank you guys for listening, subscribing and following. Just follow us afterwards. And we'll be back next week with another episode. So until then, do digital right.
All right.
Have a good night.
All right.